Just fucking do it. Subscribe now. But you still fight it. And Marcus said it probably in one word as accurately as you can say it. Why do you act that way? Because of conditioning. But the 60 hours or 70 hours or whatever we spend here in the seminar can change. If you're 40 years old, I think you've been around 310,000 hours or something. It can change. 70 hours can change 300,000 hours. If you go back and immerse yourself. Immerse yourself with QLA, i.e. The various things that you've been given. And then one of the characteristics of almost all of the icons is they try to get clean at the end of their life. Just in case there is a guy up there. They try to, and I am guilty as shit. I'm buying those fucking 240 nuns. I mean, every fucking day they pray for me. 40 priests, 50 brothers, every fucking day. I'm on a rocket ship. I'm on a rocket ship to heaven, if it's there. And they all try to clean up their act. And they realize whoever writes last about them is going to be making history. And that's why presidents write their memoirs. They raise hundreds of millions of dollars for their libraries. Now, what's in a presidential library? Has anybody ever been to a presidential library here in this room? 1, 2, a couple, okay? Other than papers saying how smart they are and what good Americans or good whatever they are, what else is in the presidential library?
They're just jerking the president off, basically.
Yeah. And, but every single president, not every, for the last, 100 years, there's a presidential library for every ex-president of the United States. Whereas guys like Putin, he doesn't need a library because he's just going to stay there forever. He was asked if he plans on staying beyond 2024, which is the end of his term. He said, of course. Didn't say anything about getting elected again, but he just said that he's going to stay on beyond 2024. And when you're in those seats of power, it's pretty addictive to be able to do whatever you want, whenever you want, to whomever you want. Just imagine if you could do to whomever you wanted to what you wanted to do to them. In most cases, there'd be less people on the planet. Now, see, you can think ugly about something like that. You can think it, you won't say it. But that's the same process. Some people need the grease to shut them up. The squeaky wheel gets the grease. Some people, and now you maybe can relate more, not everybody deserved to be born. We all know real assholes that shouldn't have been born. Either because they've taken advantage of us, mostly because they've taken advantage of us. Or in some cases, they broke our heart or some shit like that. I don't know, to me, that's not worth killing anybody. It's because, it was my fault for falling in love. If I did fall in love, it was my fucking fault. It wasn't hers. In some cases, or it wasn't its. So now you got to say it's, hers, his. I mean, you got to cover the spectrum. Today we're going to see Jason Nagy, who's the current reigning king of non-recourse, no signature guarantee loans. He's the current reigning king of the kids out there. And as he'll say, I can tell you in a sentence, his whole status is, you can do it as long as you don't lose your nerve. Those are his words. You don't lose your nerve. In other words, as long as you don't cave to the banks, you can do what he did. Of course, he's got a bad reputation now in the banks. They don't want him to come to meetings anymore. Well, you're at the top of your game if the bank doesn't want you to come to the meeting anymore. Because the banks haven't wanted me to come to meetings for 25, 30 years. And as Sally would attest to, Mr. Peña really doesn't have to come. I mean, you're fine, or the lawyers are fine, because they know that I'll walk out of the deal. If I don't like what I hear, fuck you, the deal's dead. Well, we've got $900,000 in fees on the books, Mr. Peña. Well, you can eat them. Or you can put them where the sun doesn't shine. Whatever you like. But then you got to be prepared to walk. And the deal you took too long to find has a high probability of going down the shitter. Just like that last turd when you flush a toilet, it seems, oh, it's not going to, then it goes down. That's you, though. And you don't want it to be you. Okay, now, 3 of the groups have given 2 presentations. One of the group has only given 1. Is that correct, Jessica?
I don't believe that we gave yesterday.
Okay, so you still have 1.
Yes.
1 mini midget to go, right?
Correct.
And who is it? And what is it?
Hunter's going to go today.
Again? Okay. Okay. You ready, Hunter?
Yes.
Really?
Yes, he's ready.
Well, it's fine. Now, another thing, even though, when people ask you that, you don't have to say it like I do. I was born ready. If you have to get ready, you're in the wrong game. But by not theory, but by practice, even a mouse, when it's backed into a corner, will fight. Even if it's against a big dog or a big lion, or even a little teeny mouse, if you push it hard enough, it'll fight. Fight might not last too long, like with Take a Dive Raft, but I mean, they'll fight. But the sooner I can get you to fight where you're not scared shitless in a corner, because when you're scared shitless in a corner, you may come out swinging, but I mean, you're swinging an aerial, but not being effective. What this helps you to learn is to be more prepared at the drop of a hat. Like I can sell, like what they used to call an elevator pitch. I can sell, elevator doors closed, boom, I can sell, no matter what it is. Dan Locke hands me this and he says, this is a bar of gold, Dan. Boom, and I'm selling, okay? And that's what improv still is, and Toastmaster used to be. I don't know if they still have that kind of at Toastmaster. This is a bar of gold, sell me. And back before political correctness came in the 70s, when I went into it, they used to say, I'm a girl, tell me why I should go to sleep with you. Now, they don't do that. I'm sure they don't do that anymore. But they used to back in the day. Let me up there. Boy, I'll sell that bitch right quick. So now we're selling inanimate objects as the bars of gold, as opposed to, yes, dear, why you should leave with me, go to my apartment or whatever. Okay, yes, sir.
Yesterday, you said there was a difference between self-confidence
Correct.
and self-esteem.
Correct.
So I'm guessing confidence, confidere to trust.
Okay, no. Confidence, like some of you look more self-confident than you are. In fact, most of you do. And that's not saying much, so that's not a compliment, so don't take it as a compliment. Because you only have 2 times to make a first impression, right? 1, the way you look. And vis-a-vis QLA, we cover that pretty solidly. And number 2, when you open your big fucking mouth. So you can tear away all your looks and your dress and you look professional and you open your mouth and you say something stupid. But if you follow the scripts, that won't happen. So you can act self-confident. Self-confidence is, you could put the word acting. Self-esteem is for real. If I'm in my boxer shorts, and back in the 90s, I used to give a seminar in my boxer shorts sometimes, to make a point about first-time impressions, what they look like and how they talk. But within 4 or 5 minutes of me pitching in my boxer shorts, my Madras boxer shorts, with a teacher that says, fuck you, they forgot the boxer shorts and the fuck you, maybe they didn't forget the fuck you t-shirt, but I was selling, and so I overcame what I looked like because my smooth baby shit coming out of my mouth. But self-esteem is what you really feel about yourself. Self-confidence is what you show others.
And self-belief?
Well, self-belief, these are all intertwined. Okay, if you really have self-belief, you have self-confidence and you have self-esteem. Yes.
You mentioned that, commonly mentioned that you've been fucked in every pore of your body.
All of us have about 3 million pores. I've been fucked in every one of them at least twice. And as they say in the Netherlands, not in a good way.
How did you come back when you've been betrayed?
Well, no, being fucked and being betrayed are two different things. Betrayed is somebody you have had confidence in, that you thought had your back, six, and all that bullshit about, I've got your six, and then they let you down. That's betrayal. Betrayal. Just plain letting you down is that a lot of people have, they allow their alligator mouth to overload their hummingbird ass. In other words, they overpromise and underdeliver. Most people overpromise and underdeliver because they think it's easier to accomplish. Now, in this project, you don't do that because and I tell you from the get-go, this is a hard motherfucker. But when you do it and you succeed and you follow the steps, you're going to be a lot richer than you are. But I tell you from the get-go, whereas most of the other guys don't tell you that. They don't tell you that 99% of you are going to fail. Now, in this group, 99 won't fail, but I mean just a random pick. 99% of the people that give in QLA, that's why we have a 97, 98% failure rate on most of our testing. But those test scores don't have to stay that way. You can change.
But when you mentioned some mentees that the board kicks them off, or back in the day with great wrestling.
Well, I mean, I just got another one. Okay. Now, if you were walking down and this is a few days old for the guys that were at the seminar just a week or so ago, I said this to you, I'm going to say it to the group here. If you're walking down Piccadilly in London, which is kind of the high street, right? And you walk by Starbucks and you see your chairman, your CFO, and your CEO sitting in there having a coffee or a latte. Now, what's the first thing that goes through your mind? And you don't know about it. Now, Marcus will ask you, you're a reasonably sophisticated man, so, reasonably, okay. More sophisticated than most of the people in this room. So what would you think? What's the first thing that goes through your mind?
Well, the first thing, why are they meeting?
Yes. And how am I getting fucked? Right? And okay, what's the second thing you're going to do?
Well, I'd go in there.
Yeah, thank you. We got a kid, and I already explained this to the other mentees. He just walked by, and he kind of looked back, and then he walked by with his tail between his legs, and he just went in, and he got a cab. What the fuck?
The minimum is I need them to know that I know. That's the minimum.
That's a good point. That's a good point. But then that gives them time to make up a story. It's like when you have more than one kid and we got to get a story ready for dad. Or we got to get a story ready for mom. And believe me, they get stories ready. Now, I would just go in and fire them. I wouldn't ask them why they're there. I wouldn't ask them anything. Not thank you for your service, nothing. I said, a strong email to follow, but you're all out.
And if the company has already been formed...
Well, then you're fucked. Ty, you're just fucked. Of all the people that's going to be fucked for shares, it's going to be Ty. It's got to be him. And your brother's going to tell you, but I mean, what did Mr. Peña say? And some of these things are, they're self-fulfilling. I mean, they just happen because, now I'm not saying this about Ty, but we engage subconsciously in sabotaging activities because we've been told so many times that we're losers, or we failed so many times, or a combination of the two. And so by God, your subconscious makes sure that you fuck it up. But so that guy that saw the three people, he lost the company. We've had other groups where the board, how you don't form a company until you got something to talk about, remember the deals. We've had other boards form the board without telling you. They've got a company formed. They're going to, you're sending them material on deals. You don't know the company's formed. It sounds like a Swiss deal, actually. This is what they do in Switzerland, when up there next to the Vatican, or not the Vatican, the Swiss guards at the Vatican. And then when you get close to the deal, then all of a sudden, when you're talking to the seller, oh yeah, I signed a deal with, you signed a who? What? Because your board has already formed a company without you and you have no shares in it. And then you're really fucked. And we've had people have that happen to them. Normally, the whole board doesn't cave. Normally, 3 or 4 of the real important guys and gals decide to do that to you. But what's your recourse? Your only recourse is court. And litigation is a business tool. As Raymond will tell you, having gone through some litigation in recent years. But seriously, what do you do? I told you about the story, not the story, the truth, about a kid that, and I was chairman. So I take it, when I'm chairman, I take it personally when you try to fuck me. You try to fuck you because you're trying to fuck me. And so I was willing to put up money to fight, and the kid didn't want to fight. You've heard that story, but the kid didn't want to fight. I'm putting up the money, not a nickel from you. To me, that's a no-brainer. Take it away, Dan. You know, let me know how much money we make at the end. But he said he didn't want to fight. Because fighting, as Raymond again will attest to, is not easy in court. It's debilitating. It can be demoralizing. It can be embarrassing, all the above. And we all have skeletons. I got more skeletons than most, but we've all got skeletons, and those fucking things come up. It's like a horror movie, you know? Boom, the skeleton. Is this true? Is this a picture of you, Mr. Peña, in 1966? Yes, Your Honor. Why weren't you wearing any clothes, Mr. Peña? It seemed like the right thing to do at the time. Yeah. And fortunately, they didn't have iPhones and that shit when I was younger. God almighty. I mean, I did some crazy shit. There used to be a thing in the 60s and early 70s when they had hot tubs in those days, okay? And they used to have hot tub, like therapy places you go, and they'd have sex, and sperm would be floating on the top of the water in the hot tub. I mean, it was just, and so everybody, instead of going to those places and that's where AIDS was developed, the AIDS virus, they'd buy a hot tub. So you'd buy a hot tub that could fit 40 people. Now, what do you need a hot tub to fit 40 people in? There's a lot of humping and jumping going on in that goddamn thing, right? And so when they have hot tub parties, a big guy in Beverly Hills would have a hot tub party, and he'd invite 200 or 300 people over, and everybody's running, not everybody, but almost everybody's running around naked. And I was always the first guy to take my clothes off. I was always. If you wanted the party to get started, you always invited Dan Peña, because I'd take my clothes off first, you know, and I'd run around and grab some titties and then jump in the water, you know. And all those little titties I grab would jump right in after me, meow, 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 you know. But there was pictures of that. Fortunately, I bought up most of those negatives that I have. If anybody have any negatives, I'm happy to buy them. Just contact Kim. I'm happy to buy them. You know, I'm not going to fight with you. I'm not going to argue with you. It was me. I'll pay. It's all right. No negotiation. Yeah, no negotiation. Whatever you want is fine. But But now they probably do. Well, maybe they have hot tub parties. They don't call, because now of course they have the whirlpools and jacuzzis and all that other stuff. But so we've all got skeletons, everybody, and so that's what comes out in litigation, and that's why a lot of guys don't do. Plus, it's time consuming. You have to devote. When I fought for my financial life back in the day when Great Western sued me, I took 9.5, almost 10 months out of my life to study all the material, all the documents, and they gave me a little office in the big law firm that represented me, and that's all I did. I didn't try to make any money. I didn't do anything. My whole life was devoted to knowing the material. In a famous, this was in the Houston Chronicle, they wrote, this was the end of the third week of a 7-week trial, and the opposing lawyer, a very gifted gal lawyer, said she called me the wrong name, and I jumped up immediately and I said, "Me not Loveless, me Peña, Loveless there." And he was, one of the guys I was fighting. And she says, "Well, Mr. Peña, it's late, it's Friday, no air conditioning in most of the Houston courts, and so we're all tired." And I jumped up. I said, "Your Honor, with the greatest respect, men and women of the jury, you only get tired when you're fucking lying." And the judge held me in contempt. Then she says, one more outburst from you and you're going to go to jail. Well, I had 2 more outbursts. She still didn't send me to jail, but I had to call him liar again. And that's when we think the jury swung. You know, not just because I stood up to the judge, but because what I said, you only get tired when you're lying. And that was it. You know, the jury wasn't Einstein, and it certainly wasn't a jury of my peers, but I'm thankful to you guys, every one of you. Yeah, we all have skeletons, so we don't want to litigate. So when one of you, God forbid, Allah forbid, Buddha forbid, walk by the high street and you see your board sitting in there, or a majority of your board, I hope you know what to do. Now, depending where you are, you're going to hit them with a brick. You know, but I mean, Piccadilly in London, you're going to go to jail. But I mean, if you're in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and they're sitting in a coffee shop, you wait till they come out of the coffee shop, metaphorically speaking only, and you hit them with a 2x4, you put them in your trunk, then you drive them out to the desert and you chop them up with a chainsaw. Metaphorically speaking. Metaphorically speaking, okay. Hit the biggest guy first with a 2x4, though.
That's justified.
Yeah. Yeah, well, to me it is justified. To me it is justified. Any questions? Yes, sir.
The 5 data points you asked to be reminded.
Which data point?
Yesterday during the breakout session, you mentioned that to remind you of the 5 data points that we need to know.
Oh, what information you need to know. Thank you. Okay. I'll do that after lunch. But I mean, the reason why well, I'll tell you now. Top line revenue. Second, does top line, because when I asked for financial data, I want top line revenue, I want bottom line after taxes. In this country, it's pre-tax because they're not interested in after-tax income. In Europe, for the most part, they're only interested in pre-tax income. So that's either pre or post-tax income after top line revenue. Expenses. So I can figure what the gross margin is, and the general expenses from top line revenue equates to gross margin. And so I can tell right away, is this a 20% margin, 40% margin business? And remember, you should be hunting 20 to 40% gross margin businesses. Why as high as 40? Because most of you don't know how to manage, and you're going to be managing something you don't understand, so you're going to make a lot of mistakes. If you're getting into an area that you think you understand, then 20%. Now, we have had guys that got involved in 10 or 15% margin businesses that were really kings in that business, and so they knew that they could take a 15% margin business and make it 30 because they knew the special sauce. And, okay, go ahead.
Gross margins, not EBITDA margins, correct?
No. I haven't got to that yet. Okay, now EBITDA equates to free cash flow. Okay, but you can figure that out. Roughly speaking, you take net income and you add back 40 to 60%, depending if you're in the manufacturing, if you have to allow for depreciation, amortization. But it's roughly 50% on top of net income is a safe bet for free cash flow. So if you've got a $5 million business that's making $1 million after taxes, probably the cash flow is going to be about $1.5 million. But see, it only has to be about. You can be 10 or 15% off and still make this model work. And you all realize when interest rates go to 15% in 5 or 10 years from now, your deals have to be 3 times better. Do y'all understand that? Roughly now we say 5% interest. It's really lower. You can get lower, but this is called 5. So at 15% interest, I mean, the deals have to be better. And in the 90s, when all those guys were making the money, interest rates were high. So not only didn't they have any of the program and the benefits you have, they were fighting high interest rates. And they still created billions. Okay, so we've got top line. We've got post-tax or pre-tax, depending where you are. You've got cash flow, free cash flow. And to me, the last thing is, how are we defining a motivated seller? Now, to me, I mean, they got to be almost dead. That's a slight exaggeration, but I mean, it's really motivated. It's like the difference between, I take it when you, forgetting the Dutch Dutch treat where you pay for yourself, on a Dutch date, the guys make the girls pay. That aside, the normal, take her for a coffee, send her a nice card or some flowers. I never did this. I'm just, this is what I hear. Take her for a nice coffee, maybe a dinner, and then get laid. So the steps, okay? And normally, you guys probably aren't smart enough to figure out at the coffee, the first meeting, you're never going to get laid. Because you're wishing and hoping, just like on your fucking deals. Well, maybe if I send her a nice card and some flowers and some candy and shit, make her fatter than she is. Just spread that. I used to tell the girls, just spread that candy on your fat ass. Don't even bother your stomach to digest it. And they loved it. Maybe it's a cute way I used to say it. I'm not sure. But so those are the things that I look at. And when I look at a summary of financials, normally in a selling document, a prospectus of any sort that's put together reasonably professionally, they're going to have a summary of financial data on the front, first, second, or third pages. Barrett even does that when he's, swindling the poor. Okay? And it's going to have top line, but not projected top line. That's what Barrett's going to give you. 5 years down the road, I don't give a fuck what happens in 5 years. I don't give a fuck what's happened next year. We're buying it on trailing. Historical numbers. And some of you bought, when you were going through the regular program, brought me a deal where it's flat for like 7, 8, 9 years. Then all of a sudden it goes like this. Of course, that's when the guy wants to sell. But why did it go like this? If there is an anomaly, I want to know what caused the anomaly. And that's the only question I have other than those numbers. So I can screen deals in 20, 30 seconds. But if it's got an anomaly, then I want to know what caused the anomaly. And your crack CFO, etc., who you're sharing information with, remember it's full disclosure, and you're using your dream team to not bounce ideas off. Because a few of you are sophisticated in the room that have done deals, so you've got some experience to draw on. But most of you don't. So you're not bouncing your ideas off. You're asking questions to fill in the gaps where you don't know. But you don't have to know. You don't have to be a orthopedic surgeon to buy acute care centers. So you don't have to have the level of knowledge that you think you need. So did I answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay, Lokesh?
Yeah.
And, but you should be able to, and I don't like brokers, but if you use them, just send me the financial summary data. I don't want to see all the bullshit. Just the financial summary data. And on but almost every single broker document that I've seen produced by a business broker, there's a big fucking disclaimer on the bottom of each page, which holds them not liable if all the numbers are lies. That's why I like sales documents from the Big Four accountants. Because there's a difference between a compilation and an audit. A compilation is they stuck all the numbers together that you gave them, and an audit is the numbers that they dug out. And no audit is 100%. They look at every 5th document, every 10th document, to verify the stream of income, as Jessica was alluding to yesterday. So just ask them for the summary. Now, they won't want to send you the summary because they want you to look at the glossy pictures. And some of us are impulse buyers that you buy on the glossy pictures. And needless to say, they're not going to put anything. I've never seen a sales document or a business plan fail on paper. But most sales documents are saved through projections, not trailing data. Now, you in your own mind can say, well, I ought to be able to double this. I ought to be able to do this. I ought to be, my crack dream team. But the information that you want from them is trailing data, and does it correspond, roughly speaking, plus or minus 10% with tax returns? Yeah.
Are summary of financials the same thing as a P&L and balance sheet?
No.
Okay.
Okay, that's more information than I need. I know. Yeah. The summary of financial data comes from the P&L and balance sheet, but that's not what it is. Now, for those of you that think you're numerant, like you said yesterday, you're not numerant. Okay? Okay, well, most people should just go on the assumption you're not numerant. There's a couple of you that are numerant. meaning that you're good with numbers, you understand, and you've got some background. But the financial data, financial summary is more than enough information. And so let's say you get no business broker is going to send you 100. Let's say he sends you 100, or a series of business brokers send you 100. There's going to be 10 that make sense that you look at and that you'll ask for additional data, and there'll be 3 or 4 that, you know, I better go kick the tires and take a look at this more closely. And but it's the same. It's not the same, but it's a very similar model to the private equity model. Remember, a third of the investments of private equity go bankrupt, a third break even, a third make money. 10% of the third that make money are the ones that they're looking for, like the Zuckerbergs, etc. And everybody's looking for those. And the competition for those is very high, and they normally, you pay up high multiples. And the pre-money valuation is before somebody injects money, and then there's a post-value valuation after they've injected money. And that's not the reason why, but most of the deals that come from startups, i.e. Silicon Valley, have 3, 4, 5 rounds of funding. Very seldom do you find one, the first round of funding, it's a home run. And normally the first and second round funders are selling to the third and fourth round funders, and the third and fourth round funders are selling to the fifth and sixth round funders. Because as long as they make twice their money or 3 times their money, they're not interested. Because they realize that the odds of finding a Facebook are remote, if that. Yes, Raymond.
Dan, would you indulge me in a loan to add a 6th one?
Okay.
Off of YouTube?
Sure. Oh, off of YouTube.
The class may benefit from.
Okay, good. Now, and see, we're benefiting from an experienced guy, not just because he looks old, but he's been through the ringer. And part of that ringer is litigation. And, you know, and I wish that, you know, again, love, I really don't wish love worked. That's a lie. You know, I got to slap myself. Because if love worked, then, you know, I have to find something else to do at 74. But, so I'm glad it doesn't. And in no time soon am I expecting it to work. Okay, any other questions?
You mentioned Armaco IPO.
Oh, yeah, off. Okay, YouTube.